Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Gitte Mary and today is the long-awaited part 2 of ugly sustainability tips or like ugly zero waste hacks that are incredibly practical, something that I do every day. However, before I get into this video, I want to make a disclaimer that I think I also made in the previous video, but I still got a lot of questions and a lot of comments that seem to have misunderstood my intentions with the first video. So my intentions with the ugly sustainability tips is not to shame anyone for doing anything. And as I also said in the other one, but I want to highlight again, I don't actually think these things are ugly. But the reason why I call it ugly zero waste is because it's sort of a commentary on the very curated sustainability feeds that we see both on Pinterest, Instagram, and social media in general. Everything is very curated, it's very controlled, and it's very minimalistic, bright, light, and it's beautiful, and it's aesthetic. And for me, it's important, obviously, that things around me are beautiful. I love when things look amazing. However, I also think it's very important that we're able to separate these aesthetics from actual sustainability, because aesthetics and styles and trends can be commodified and can be misused and can be misrepresented and can be exploited. And it's important that we remember there are so many things about sustainable lifestyles that do not look beautiful or like conventionally fit into the frame of these Instagram feeds that we see. So it's not that I actually think they're ugly. It's just sort of my quirky commentary on something that does not fit into these aesthetics, which is what I mean by that. I don't think any of these things are ugly. It's just important for me to highlight. Okay, I'm excited to show you these 10 things that are ugly sustainability hacks that I actually find to be quite beautiful. So let's have a small moment of appreciation for things that are unaesthetically aesthetic and just appreciate things that are mismatched, things that are not where it's supposed to be, things that are used in ways that they're not supposed to, but are beautiful anyway. And with that in mind, enjoy this video.
Dumpster dived / discarded foods in plastic. Even though I primarily go for the unpackaged, plastic-free foods, I definitely think dumpster diving or in any other way using discarded foods, plastic or no plastic, is okay. There's definitely not anything pretty about perfectly good food being thrown in the dumpster, and there's also nothing pretty about the asymmetric overproduction in our food systems, so using what would otherwise have gone to waste can definitely be said to be an ugly green hack. Nonetheless, it's really important. I always say it's better to throw out empty plastic than full plastic. For dumpster diving, I have a couple of videos about what you need to know, how to do it, what to be careful of, etc. I'll link those down below. Remelting soaps together. Now, I've talked about this hack a few times and I have a full guide on how to do it as well. Basically, I save all my small soap scraps in a jar. When that jar is full, I melt them into a single piece of everything Franken soap. The last batch I did came out looking not so pretty. However, after using it for a while, I started to see some really cool patterns, kind of like terrazzo. Sometimes things might look ugly for a while and then turn out pretty great at the end. Anyway, I can really recommend trying out this soap hack. Mending and repairing clothes from visible damage rather than throwing them away. You don't need to be a master sewer or seamstress to mend clothes. It doesn't even have to be good, honestly. However, the more you do it, the better it will also become. And taking up repairing as part of your sustainable fashion routine is a really sustainable addition. And you know, every level is valid here, from throwing on a patch to learning the lazy daisy stitch. Using metal tins and cans for storage or as planters. I love using tins and cans in upcycling projects at home. I often use them as storage or as planters because they give my home a really nice rustic look. And you also reuse something over and over, which is also a win. And while aluminium has a rather high recycling rate, there's still many places that don't accept tins and cans. And in those cases, I think it's extra important to find ways of using them. Aluminium can be recycled over and over without degrading in quality, in contrast to plastic. And did you know that technically we don't need to produce any new aluminium ever for anything because we already have enough produced to meet demands? Sadly, a lot of it still ends up in landfill, so reusing tins and cans if you cannot recycle them, and even if you can, always. Cutting old sheets into napkins and reusable tissues. You've probably seen them lots. I have at least. Sustainable brands launching and offering reusable napkins and tissues and wipes, etc., made from the finest organic cotton. However, even when the cotton is organic, it still requires a lot of resources to produce, and the products that are the disposables that they're replacing don't even have that much of an environmental impact. However, I love reusable napkins and tissues, but I don't buy them from new. I make them. Take a sheet, some linen, table cover, whatever you have, preferably something that is old or stained or otherwise broken, and cut them into small squares and use those instead. Super easy and also way more sustainable than buying new organic cotton tissues. Just FYI. Adding excess fabric scraps to pillowcases. I often get asked what I do with clothing that is just too broken, too worn down to be used for anything else or to be donated, or what to do with textile scraps from DIY projects. And while there are of course many ways of using them, my favorite is this, just stuffing them into a pillow cover. Over time, pillow fillings become less and less fluffy, so the scraps adds a little bit more extra filling, and the scraps are also reused. It's not even ugly because you can't even see it. Keep using reusable plastic containers. Because waste is only waste once you waste it. As such, there are plenty of ways to use plastic containers in your home rather than discarding them. Because while they might not look as aesthetically pleasing as glass or steel, reusing them is still sustainable. The plastic containers I sometimes use for bulk spices, nuts, seeds, etc. I store food scraps and leftovers in them. I just don't use them for hot food, or I don't put them in the microwave. But I definitely reuse as much as possible, even if it's not Insta-friendly. Save water from cleaning veggies to water plants. There are plenty of resourceful ways of saving water, and saving water is not only great for the planet, it can also definitely save you some money. One of my favorite water saving hacks is saving the water I use to clean my vegetables and I use it to water my plants. All those nutritions are super beneficial to the plants, and it would be a shame to waste them by pouring them down the drain. So I place a bowl in my sink and I save and reuse the water. Easy and not ugly at all, just resourceful. Repurposing stale bread to make breadcrumbs. This one I actually learned from my grandmother. She has always had this drawer in her kitchen filled to the brim with stale bread. And I remember as a child asking her why she kept all this stale bread around. And then she showed me how to make bread coatings from stale bread. Today, this is a standard practice in my household, and I haven't bought store-bought breadcrumbs ever. I just do what my grandmother showed me, and it's delicious. Simply tear the stale bread into smaller pieces or cut it and put it in a food processor, and bam, there you go, Bob's your uncle. Picking up hair ties. I've mentioned this a couple of times, and I just love it, and I stand by that. I pick up hair ties on the street. To make sure that there are no lice or anything like that in them, I freeze them, and then I throw them in with my laundry and wash them before I use them. But then they're perfectly fine to use. I haven't bought hair ties in years, and some of my favorite ones are actually just picked up from the street. Might as well, they are already there, and actually they also usually contain plastic, so they don't break down anyway. So I pick them up. And that's it. These were 10 ugly but not so ugly sustainable zero waste hacks that are super resourceful and super practical. If you haven't watched the first video, I'll link that down below so you can go and check that out. And please share in the comments if you have any resourceful tips to share with everyone. I would love to hear. Thank you so much for watching. Have an amazing day and take really good care of yourselves. Until next time. Finger guns. Okay, bye. Hi. Thank you so much for watching this video, and also a special thank you to my Patreon supporters. You guys help me create green zero waste content, and I love you guys. You can find the links to my social media accounts down below and the link to my Patreon on this screen. Bye!